Hey, it's B-Rad Celebrity Hairstylist here, your host of the Hairstylist Empowerment Podcast. Today we have an incredible guest, and if you don't know his name, you will by the end of this podcast. Paul's career began in Liverpool, England, where he followed his family's tradition and trained to become a stylist. After qualifying, he continued his training, working alongside some of the industry greats, Sassoon, Trevor Sorbie, Nicholas French, just to name a few. Paul opened a chain of 3 salons in Merseyside, England, where he, before beginning, I may have got it right, I may have got it wrong. We'll go after that after beginning to work with Wella, Sebastian, first as a technician and then running the education team for Great Britain. His journey with Wella and Sebastian has taken him around the world, performing to some of the largest audiences, including the Alternative Hair Show, which he emceed for many years. The Alternative Hair Show raised millions of dollars to help research into cures for children with leukemia. Earlier this year, Paul joined Izutech as the vice president. I'm thrilled to be working with such a progressive company that prides itself on bringing innovation into the highest quality of tools to the world's industry, Paul says. So welcome, Paul, to the Hairstylist Empowerment Podcast. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Brad. Thank you for that great introduction. You make me sound better than I probably am.
But, I'm sure your list is way longer than the little bit.
It is a wee bit longer than that. But hey, I thought that I didn't want it to take up the whole podcast, so I condensed it slightly. And just so everybody knows that Merseyside is the larger part of Liverpool.
Okay.
So Liverpool is the city, Merseyside is the area,
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So I first of all, I love our industry, and I've been blessed in our industry to have been mentored by some incredible people. Some of the names you mentioned, I worked alongside Tim Hartley and Annie Humphreys for many years, touring around the world with Sassoon, to work with the likes of Nicholas French, who is a sheer genius in our industry. And it continues and it goes, because for all the years that I've done this, and I listened to Joe Santi yesterday, and he was saying how many years he was doing it, and I'm like, I'm not going to go down that path because it's scary. But I've done it for a few years, and but we never finish learning, and we never finish evolving. Be it our personal skills, or be it the companies that we work alongside, the companies that we choose to work with, or like Izutech that I joined earlier this year, that are making incredible innovation in hair tools. Because the reality for me, Brad, and everybody, is that the tools are an extension of our arms. They're an extension of our mind. They have to meet the expectations that we need to create. And so, I was blessed to be introduced to the founder of Izutech, and of course I took a look at the tools and I was playing with them, because I've got to know that they feel right. It's almost that they feel a part of your body to create these incredible looks that we spent so many years learning how to do. Exactly. And I found that these were the best tools that I've worked with. And so I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Let's move forward. What are we going to do? And so, yes, I joined early in the year, and I'm thrilled. And next year, including Beauty Industry Cruise, is going to be spectacular, with everything that's going on, both within our company and also the events like the one you've organized, Brad, which is spectacular. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing having all those beauty industry professionals all together in one place, because I find when you do, number one, when you're in a different environment, that changes you. When you're a different destination, that changes you again. And being 18 plus and no kids, that changes you. you know what I mean? But going back a little bit, what was the defining moment you knew you wanted to be in the beauty industry?
Right. Oh, well, I didn't start off thinking that I wanted to be in the beauty industry. I think that's probably like a lot of us. I wanted to be a musician, quite honestly. I went to music school, all my schooling, and I wanted to be a star. But I didn't grow up to be 6'2" and dark and talented beyond all belief. And when I was trying to do something in the music industry, my mom had 3 salons in Liverpool.
Yes.
And quite honestly, having grown up in it, I knew it so well. I knew the interaction between people and how important the service aspect was. That almost came naturally because I'd seen my mother and her teams do it. So I stepped into it initially because I needed some money. I was, you know, I can't stand in doorways with my guitar and expect people to put money in a hat every day.
Yes.
So I stepped into it first of all, really to earn money, and then discovered how amazing the industry is. And, you know, for any young hairdressers that are listening to this podcast, you know, when I stepped into it, and I think it's very interesting, I had zero idea of what being in the beauty industry can be. You know, my idea in my head was that we go to a salon every day and we would work, hopefully create beautiful work and earn some money. And when I went into working with my mother initially, I discovered over the years that there were so many other aspects to what our industry is that I had no idea about. And quite frankly, for all of the young hairdressers listening to this, as my career progressed, I went into education, as Brad said earlier, with Wella. And then I ended up running the education for Wella and Sebastian. I was in England. The next thing I know, I'm working with the teams out of Germany, which was where Wella was based. And then in 98, Wella asked me whether I would come to the USA and bring all the international products in. I'm saying this not from an ego point of view, just from the point of view of I had no idea. If you focus everybody, you can do anything in the beauty industry. I've traveled the world, done shows with the greatest people in our industry that I had no idea I could do. And so this industry is the best that you can possibly ever go into. And I know, Brad, you've done very similar because of your stage work and all the things that you've done.
Yeah, I've done platform, education, training, competing. Everything. But one question I have for you, so being with your mom and her salons, what were, when the time you were there, what were the kind of greatest challenges you thought the salon had and the triumphs that the salon had as well?
I think the biggest challenge was working with my mother. As much as I adored her, you know, it's very interesting, everybody working with family, you know, because I think initially you think you can take liberties. And then you realize that when it's family end up being tougher on you than if you worked for somebody else.
Exactly.
So, you know, it was challenging. And then, you know, at that point in time was really the heyday of Sassoon, which revolutionized the industry, as you all know. So a challenge was taking the business that my mother had developed, which was wonderful, but taking the approach to hair from her business model, which was very much the weekly shampoos and sets, and the person came back a week later and did the same thing again, and evolving the business from that to the way we approach hair today. Which was very much the revolution that Sassoon and some huge names in our industry changed the way we approach hair. That was a big one because you've got a clientele that are used to a perfect, you know, a particular look that they do, and all of a sudden, you know, I didn't want to put a hair curler in anybody's hair, and they probably thought I was nuts, but it did evolve. It did
Yes.
evolve when people realized the freedom that they got from changing the approach and changing their look, which actually took a couple of years to do with the clientele as it was. And bringing new, fresh clients into the salon was probably a big challenge initially.
Yes.
But we got there because we always do. We're
Mm-hmm.
hairdressers, everybody. Nothing stops
Exactly.
us.
Exactly, which leads to the triumph. So what are your kind of biggest triumphs that you've had in the beauty industry?
Oh, my goodness.
There's
My goodness.
the list is so long.
Now you're going to completely age me. You know, I think triumphs that to start, if you are going to achieve something, you have to have a completely open mind to let yourself learn new things every day. I think Brad mentioned before about the alternative hair show, which back in the day in England, the alternative hair show was sponsored by Wella, which I was working for. So I had the privilege of emceeing that show with some of the greatest hairdressers from around the world, and raising, you know, thousands, millions actually of dollars for children with leukemia, which was a spectacular triumph and an honor. And then when I came to America, I was able to bring the alternative hair show to America. Some of you who are watching, I'm sure, will remember that. And we actually staged it in Chicago. That was a challenge and also a triumph. Yes. At the same time, to be able to do that. So it was wonderful. And I think the key thing to anything that has worked for me in my career has always been about being flexible. Always embracing change, because it happens constantly in our industry. What was good yesterday isn't good tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us to our next thing. You know, what's old and broken, sometimes you need something new. So
Yes.
What should one look for when they want to purchase a new hairdryer? So I hear from a lot of hairstylists, like in a lot of groups, you know, my dryer is broken. What one do you recommend? Is it better than this one? So if somebody were to look for a new dryer, what kind of things should they look for in a new dryer?
Well, you know, Brad, what's very interesting to me is that, you know, from when I came into hair, blow dryers, the basic concept of the blow dryer has not changed in many years. Yes, they maybe became smaller, maybe they looked a little sleeker. However, the basic concept was the same until just in the last couple of years, where there really has been a revolution in hair tools, and in particular, as we're talking about the blow dryer. And you know, the revolution really came not just in the look of how the blow dryer looks at the moment, but also in the technology behind it, because we've gone from an engine, if you like, that spun in a blow dryer with brushes that kind of pulled and pushed air through the blow dryer. The downside of the blow dryers we've been using for so many years, everybody, is the weight. It's the sheer weight of a traditional blow dryer. Now, think about this. And when I'm educating throughout the years, we have always put a lot of emphasis on body stance. Because if we want longevity, like Brad and I, well, Brad's probably a couple of years younger than me, but like Brad and I,
the oldest barber is 102.
Wow.
So, and he's still working. He's still working.
So if we want to be that barber, Brad, here's the thing, and everybody, is that we've got to be very, very conscious of how we stand, what we're doing with our posture, because so many hairdressers that have been doing it for many years actually end up giving up their wonderful career because they start to suffer with maybe arthritis. It could be suffer from the shoulders, suffer in their arms. And one of those things beside our posture can be the fact that we're using heavy tools. Now, the brushless motor in this new revolution of hairdryers has done one major thing, and that is it took all the weight away. Took the weight away. This is the biggest thing, everybody, that we have to consider, because we're constantly, think about the angles. You know, we're up here, you know, we're here, we're doing crazy things at times, particularly when we're dealing with a big, thick head of hair. And it's always that big, thick head of hair that's curly that wants it totally smooth.
Yep.
It's always that client, isn't it? You know, so we have a choice. We either do it or we run out the back door of the salon screaming, which we can't do. So here's the thing. Let me just pick up this dryer.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so this dryer, first of all, I could hold it like this. It's 0.8 of a pound, Brad, and everybody. So think about that straight away. I feel like I've got nothing in my hand. That's huge, everybody, because we're not picking up something that's weighty, that puts stress on our shoulders, our backs, and our arms. So 0.8 of a pound. And the other thing that, you know, we took a lot of things into consideration, because what we do when we develop products is we'll work with a group of stylists, because there's no one better to develop a product than stylists that are doing it every day.
Yes.
You know, nothing at Izutech is developed by a group of people that sit in an office in an ivory tower. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So the first thing is that it's really, really light. The next thing is, which I love, is that it's really, really quiet. I mean, I can turn this on now while we're talking, and I'll turn this on, and I'm not going to change my voice. So my voice is still talking at the same level. And really, that is the loudest that this dryer gets. So here's something, everybody, that I love. I've gone into salons that have embraced this new technology with our VULCANN MX dryer. And you walk in, and there's actually something almost tranquil that happens when you walk into this salon, these salons, because there's no crazy noise. And what happens with crazy noise creates crazy noise, because people start shouting at each other. And you know, I actually had a stylist call me the other week, and she said, Paul, the funniest thing just happened. And I'm like, oh, tell me what went on. She said, well, I cut my client's hair, I picked up my blow dryer, and the minute I turned it on, the client started shouting at me really loud like this. And the stylist said, and I said, why are you shouting at me? And the client said, because that's what we do when you blow dry our hair. You know, I just thought that the story was kind of funny, because the noise factor isn't there. And I think the other thing from a productivity point of view is, think about this, everybody. Think about how many times, because the client seems to always have questions as soon as we start blow drying, and how many times we turn the dryer off, get the question and answer, and then start again. And it happens, you know, it could be 2, it could be 10 times during the blow drying process. That's time, it's money, and productivity. So it doesn't happen. So it's spectacular. Brad, I just want to say one more thing, because I know you've got questions.
Oh no, we're good. We're good for time. I really want to know about this new technology. Well, actually, I have one, and I absolutely love it, because I'm one of those people that's used to a heavy, loud blow dryer. So you either, which I think a lot of hairstylists can relate, where you nod and smile because and they're like, my dog just died. Oh, great. Because you can't really hear. Or
I've done it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The poor dog. The other thing is, I want to talk a little bit about this posture thing, because I cannot stress enough. You know, the most in my career, I've taught coloring. And coloring is one of those things as well that we get into very, very strange shapes. And so, you know, I spent so many years talking about always working straight on to where your client was. And your client's movable. Move the client, you know, instead of doing kind of crazy things over here or whatever. So one of the things that when we spoke with our stylist team, that they brought up, and this is to do with posture, is that they find, particularly younger stylists, but I think a lot of more mature, more experienced stylists are doing it as well, is, you know, when we've got like a really thick, coarse head of hair, and we end up doing this when we're trying to blow dry it. Now, if you look, I'm going to go back a bit. If you look at where my arm is and what's going on with the shoulder, that a lot of stylists actually are holding it by the nozzle of the dryer. And look at the difference in my arm posture as soon as I do that, but the dryer didn't change where it was on the head.
Yes.
I was here,
yeah,
which is crazy.
Awkward and uncomfortable. Yeah.
Or I'm here with my arm down, which is a more natural posture. So taking all the stylist feedback, what we did is we created this silicone sleeve.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because let's think about this, everybody. This part of the dryer here is going to be the hottest, and you're very, very near the elements as well here. So the silicone sleeve slips over here, so that when we don't want to do that and we want to do this, the silicone sleeve doesn't conduct heat.
Okay.
Therefore, this stays cool. Also, it's non-slip, because, you know, we're working with product in the hair and our hands can be slippy with gels or whatever. Then this is non-slip. So when we hold the dryer this way, it makes it very comfortable, non-slip. We're not going to drop the dryer, which we've all done. So this was feedback from some of the great stylists, some of the stylists actually in our team that you're going to see on the industry cruise next year. That we value their input so much, like why do names go out? Yeah,
Albie,
like Taylor Jameson,
Taylor,
you know, Albie Mukahi,
David.
Francesca Ravetti, you know, all of these great people who give us that feedback, and it's so important. A couple of other things, just so that you see, 2 nozzles with it, guys. One narrower, and they're all magnetic. Narrower nozzle, because I use this when I'm doing detailed work. Not when I'm trying to get water out of the hair, but when I'm working on areas of the hair that I need the air to be more condensed and not be blowing the rest of the hair away. So the narrower nozzle is great. Maybe you're creating a wave or whatever, but you want this hair here to stay beautiful because you just worked on it. So the narrower nozzle is fantastic for that. Also, I like that if you're doing smoothing treatments where you need to keep the air contained as well to the hair that you're working on. And then a wider nozzle here, which again is magnetic. It will spin, but it's magnetic. Where you really, this I use when I'm dealing with getting the moisture out the hair and getting it as dry as possible before I start my detailed work. You know, and as I say, they all spin, so it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because one thing I find with a lot of the dryers or dryer I have, the dryer gets so warm, the attachments just fly right off. And then you have to go and pick them up and
well, you know, you go and try and find your nozzle after you apologize to the client that was sat in the next seat because the nozzle just hit her on the head. Well, you know, here's the thing, look, that nozzle is magnetic and I'm holding the whole dryer here by the nozzle. Gone are the days, everybody, that the nozzle is going to fly off and poke the next client's eye out. So you know, it's absolutely wonderful. With the Vulcan MX, there is a diffuser as well, but there's a little, I mean, you might all say, oh, well, it's a diffuser. Now, the diffuser actually clips on.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you the reason for that, everybody. Let's think about when and why we use a diffuser. Usually, when we use a diffuser, when we're trying to push texture into the hair. It could be that the hair has some natural texture, but we want to enhance it. Or it could be naturally curly hair at whatever level of curl that they may have. The last thing that we want with any of those types of hair is airflow. Because airflow, and anybody out there that has curly hair, you'll relate to this, because curly hair every day is an adventure. You know, some days it
Yes.
works, some days it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you know that airflow will create frizz. So the reason that this is not magnetic and is that we actually put another filter in here. I'm tapping it with my
Oh.
hand. We put another filter. Now, the reason is that filter, besides the diffuser itself, will diffuse the airflow. So there is less chance of getting airflow from the front. So we get the heat, but we don't get the airflow. That's exactly what we need from a great diffuser.
Mm-hmm.
So this extra filter within here is perfect for that. So you'll create beautiful curl formation without enhancing any kind of frizz.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes with it as well. I'm trying to think what happened to 10
Yeah.
foot, 10 foot
Yes,
flex
which I love.
wire.
Yeah, most of them they get caught, or you wrap yourself just, around,
Yeah,
and then it's like it only goes just to the back of the chair, and then you have to turn the chair in order to
yeah,
dry the other half of the client. But what I find with using that dryer is the hair seems to be shinier and better condition than it was
absolutely.
before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So, Brad, to your point, no more tying yourself up in knots with the wire.
Mm-hmm.
The hair, and we've had so much feedback from this, is that it built into the dryer is a shine generator. It's a shine generator built into the dryer. Now, let's explain what that means, everybody. A shine generator basically releases about 20 million negative ions. Now, I know that all sounds very, hey, whoa.
Yeah.
But let's think from a hair point of view
Mm-hmm.
what that means. Negative ions have the ability to close the cuticle layers, or close as best, depending on the porosity of the hair. So if I do a hair impersonation, guys, this is good hair with the cuticle layers flat. If the hair is porous, the cuticle layers will be open. So what the negative ions do is they help to smooth that cuticle layer down. Now, that's all well and good, you might all say. However, let's talk about what it means. When the cuticle layers are closed, the hair shines. When the hair shines, it means that the hair looks in great condition, because open cuticles, even a little bit, is porosity in layman's terms. It's dry. It looks dry. So this makes the hair look in great condition. Also, it's only when the cuticle layers are like this on the hair, that the light bounces off and reflects light. That, in layman's terms, everybody, is shine. So the
Nice.
built-in shine generator, the negative ion generator, will make the blow dry look healthier, shinier, more beautiful. The color will look more vibrant when it reflects light. Another side benefit to that is that when you've got porous hair like this, like cuticle, this is me as a cuticle, everybody. So when the cuticle is like this, if that client has permanent color on her hair, when it's like this, the color molecules can escape. That's an escaping color molecule, everybody. Right? Yeah. Which basically, again, in layman's terms, means color fade. Color fade will not reflect light in the same way. It won't have the same vibrancy. So closed cuticle layers means that your color is going to last longer and look more vibrant. Now, for me, and I'm Brad, when I started working with Izutech, this was almost like a revolution for me, because I had not ever related the dryer to the fact that your color is not going to fade. So and of course, the shine generator is not built into all dryers, but this, for me, when we want our clients to love their hair color, come back to us, because they cannot do it themselves as good. So come back to us, and we have that retention of clients who would have thought that the blow dryer would be something that would do that for us, you know? So for me, that was, wow, what a light bulb going off. So, you know, all of those things just make for a fantastic experience for us as the stylist, but also for our clients as well, and what their hair looks like when they leave the salon.
Of course.
So, you know, there are so many great things. The filters, just so that everybody knows, on the Vulcan MX, 3 filters, one on the outside, which looks pretty, but it's a filter, but it looks pretty. Okay, here's where it gets more important. The second filter inside here is a micro filter. Let me see if you can see. You can just about see. Actually, I look better.
They're so fine. Yeah,
but I actually look better like that, Brad. Anyway,
I guess you can put it over your webcam for upcoming.
Exactly. But the micro filter, you can probably see. You can see my finger through.
It's like
here.
a fine micro mesh.
Fine. Think about what that means to us. Think about that client. We cut her hair. We're drying her hair, particularly longer hair, and all of a sudden it gets sucked in. It's happened to us all.
I've seen it, not to me, but I've seen it. Yeah, other stylists doing a wedding.
You are the lucky one. You are the lucky one, because I know a lot of people watching us, Brad, will go, oh yes, that's happened.
And burnt hair doesn't smell pleasant.
It doesn't, and maybe you have to kind of quietly do a little texturizing haircut on that section of hair. It won't happen. It won't happen with this. There is no way. And then there's a third filter that has a sound dampener inside. So all in all those filters really make for a great experience. And also think about the fact that there's less dust getting in there, bits of hair and everything, because anything like that in any blow dryer's motor will reduce or will give you less than optimum performance. And just one other thing with this is there is a reverse blow factor here that you can clean the dryer out, which very simply, you hold the cold shot button for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and turn it on, still holding it. And the blow is now coming out of the back. Yeah. Coming out of here. So you get the cool, 10 seconds. Yeah. And turns itself off. Then when you turn it off and turn it on again, it's reversed.
Oh, wow. One thing I love when you bring that dryer, instead of having the little things that go up and down, it actually changes color. I notice it has a blue color. It has so you know what temperature it is. Most times you have your little flick thing on and you have no idea, you know.
Well, you know, Brad, and again, working with some of the stylists that I mentioned before, stylists are visual. We all are. Yes. And so what's great is that when you turn it on, there are 3 heat settings. The coolest is blue, the hottest is red, and guess what the medium is? Purple.
Yes.
Red. Come on, let's go back to our color wheel, everybody. It's purple. So, there are 3 speeds, you know, higher, medium, and low, because sometimes we want that low speed for finer textured hair, or when we're detailing the hair as we're blow drying. And there's a cold shot right at the top here. Yeah, because I love the buttons, because they're not like a light switch button, which I find most times when you're working, these buttons, and then it changes speed, it changes heat. With this, it doesn't do that, which is so much better. And people love smooth hair. So some other hot tools that you have, I don't know if you have, we're in our last minute and a bit, but if you can go quickly through, I see an iron behind you. So with that, what's the, can you tell us a little bit about the iron? Absolutely. Well, everybody, we're thrilled to be going on the beauty industry cruise with Brad next year, and it's May 7th to 12th. Don't forget, everybody. That's right. You've got to be there. Yeah. And we will be featuring the Izutech tools. What we have, obviously, the dryer, which is a star at the moment, Brad. But we have 2 irons that I love. There is the KTX 450. This one is 1.25 inches. This one was developed for styling, but also for people that do a lot of keratin smoothing. So you know, KTX, keratin expert, is what it stands for. Okay.
Yeah.
The 1.25 is the ideal size of plate. The plates are titanium, which is the best conductor of the heat. The other thing is that the heater within the plates is of a size that makes sure that, first of all, it is reaching 450 if you need it.
Yes.
But what you set it to is true.
Yeah, and it's
There's
exactly
no...
that temperature. We've got less than a minute, probably 30
Okay.
seconds. So as we close,
The other one.
we'll have a part two. What's a nugget of gold in a few seconds that you would give our audience?
Oh my goodness. I think that the nugget of gold has to be, don't set any limitations for yourself.